There's no going back. Moving on to the next project out of a long list of many projects for the year. I've been wanting to put a spoiler on this car the last couple of months to offset somewhat of the aggressive looks of that big giant hood on the front of the C5. So I think I finally found a spoiler that'll work for me in the back that I think that'll kind of complement the looks of the car. Obviously, putting spoilers and hoods and any of that kind of stuff on a car is subject to lots of people's different personal tastes, but I wanted something somewhat aggressive, but not, a full park bench style wing or anything like that. So the spoiler that I decided to go with is, it's got like 3 or 4 different names, I think. Spec Racing. I purchased this through Spec. They're out of California. But the spoiler, I think the spoiler is made by a company called G-Stream. G-Stream is the logo that is actually on the blade itself. It's very simple. It's got 4 brackets that hold it onto the back of the car. Comes with all the hardware, the doublers, and it even comes with a small template that you can use for locating the holes. These brackets sit on the back of the car. There's 4 of them, 2 inners and 2 outers. Black powder coated aluminum. Looks like all stainless steel hardware. The instructions are very clear on where the screws go. You do have to drill holes in the bumper cover of your car. This spoiler is supposed to be 100% functional, not just appearance. Not that I would ever drive the car hard enough to truly feel the difference at my abilities. I'm going to get the brackets out of the packaging and we will loosely attach them to the spoiler and set the spoiler on the back of the car to kind of start getting our bearings for where we need to mark our holes. We'll be using some masking tape to try and protect the paint as much as possible while we're setting this guy up. If you're going to use the template that they provide with you in this kit, there's a little X at the front of it down here at the bottom. That's supposed to go towards the front of the car. So one thing that I've noticed already, this would be the front of the car in this case. When I drew my markings onto my masking tape, I referenced the ends of the brackets or the braces, and the template, while the holes line up, if you reference the cardboard template versus the end or the corner edge, whatever word you want to use right there, it's going to be off. So like this, if I line the holes up, I'm probably a little over a 1/16 to maybe even an 1/8 inch back from that angle. And then on the middle braces, which are even different yet, you can see it's an 1/8 inch long. So this one's going to be long. This one's going to be short a little bit from these lines right here. Definitely take your time since you're going to be poking holes in the car. So per the instructions, we're going to start with just doing the inner 2 mounts. As far as drilling the holes, we'll set that up, tack it down, and then verify that the outboard mounts are going to be as we like them. If I'm understanding the instructions correctly, this blade should stay flat. In other words, we're not trying to make that blade bend around the back of the car, if that makes sense. I'm going to try using a step bit in the plastic and see how that works. Hopefully we don't make a mess out of it. Always recommend putting a Sharpie mark on your step bits so you don't go too far. There's no going back. We've measured this diagonally in 27 other different directions to make sure that this is square. I would rather the holes err a little bit on the large side, because you do have these reinforcements that go inside the bumper cover. That way you have a little bit of wiggle room. That was using 9/32 on a step bit. We got to take out we got to remove the inner two taillights. The shorter plates are for the inner mounts. Notches go towards the front of the car. So this is essentially a dry run. We'll be taking it back apart. So I'll get these center two tacked on there, and then we'll come back and revisit where we're at. Now we're making some good headway. I've got the two inner supports pretty well set up to my liking. They're not fully tightened, but they're snug. And then I was able to push down on the spoiler and just snug these a little bit to hold it down against the bumper cover to help take out some of the gap. The outer edges are not drilled yet. I'm gonna take those apart and get those ready to drill, and then same thing, when we go to put that in, we should be able to tighten that down and take that gap out of there. There's a lot of adjustability to this spoiler as far as fitment. It's good and it's bad. It's good because it gives you some wiggle room to make it fit as nice as possible. But in a way, it's kind of bad because lots of stuff can wiggle around on you when you're trying to set it up. So another thing that I've noticed, and maybe this is just me, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but it gives you 8 screws for the bumper cover, and they're all the same length. I've had to take the 4 screws that are out at the point, or the forward most screw of each brace, and cut like 2 threads off of them. Otherwise they were bottoming out. They were bottoming out in here and not letting it tighten up all the way. So not the end of the world, but you may or may not run into that problem. So I'm going to take these apart, drill these holes on both sides, and then keep assembling. So we got the outer holes drilled. Putting in the screws now. I went ahead and peeled the masking tape off of the outer holes because I shouldn't have to take that apart. So this is a non-shortened screw. It's going to go at the back edge. This notch goes to the front. Probably going to have to get an Allen wrench with a ball end on it to tighten these lower screws up on the inner braces. I'll show that with the camera here in a minute. There's not a lot of room in here. Okay, I'm going to get this tape out of here and then I'll turn you guys back on. I got the masking tape out. I've got all the screws in and just hand tight. Now I'm going to start tightening down the spoiler screws and get this gap pushed out of there. That gap right there, it's not very much, and I think this is going to fit really nice. Got just about all the gap out of there. Okay, I'm using a ball end to get these lower ones torqued. That's the only place you should need the ball end, is the two lower middle screws. Okay, so those are tight. Let's get these outboard edges. That's nice. That's turned out better than I actually thought it was going to. There's very little gap in there now. This is probably the biggest gap right here, and it's not even that bad. Okay, now I'm going to struggle with tightening the screws on the inside of the bumper cover fully. And after that, it'll be ready to go outside for some glamour shots. It's pretty freaking awesome. When we take it outside for the glamour shots, I'll try and get a shot of the rear view. I don't really think it's going to block as much of the rear view as some people thought it would. I can see the rear view mirror from here, and it's clearly above the lip of the spoiler. So let's get my taillights put back in, and this project will be done. Well, I got the car outside so that we can see what the spoiler looks like in full view. Very happy with it. I like the way it fits. It's very well built. So if you guys have any questions on installing the spoiler, be sure to leave them down in the comments below. I'll try and answer them as best as I can. And until then, we'll see you on the next one.